Welcome back to AgriTalk as we continue from the Syngenta booth here at the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky. Again, just another tremendous crowd. The exhibit area is just crowded as can be as people make their way around. Look at all some 850 exhibits here under 27 acres of exhibit area under roof. So that's a big draw here as well. Tremendous facility, the Kentucky Exposition Center. All right. Resistance, resistance, resistance. We talk a lot about that. Mike Saxton is with us. He's an agronomic service representative for Syngenta for Western Tennessee. Mike, thanks for joining us. This is a concern in a lot of areas. Certainly Western Tennessee has been one of the hotbeds for this resistance issue.
Absolutely, Mike. We have, I just started in this role down in Western Tennessee back in July, and it is really eye-opening when you get down there and talk to some of those growers and realize the challenges that they're going through when they try to combat this problem.
I've been mentioning that the good news about the glyphosate resistance issue is that it is manageable. There are things you can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, one of the things that I would do is I would throw out kudos to Larry Steckel and the professors there at the University of Tennessee there at Jackson. They've done a lot of work on how to manage these resistant weeds, and you know, we always come back to overlapping residual herbicides. I mean, you know, that's the key. We've got to catch these weeds before they come up.
You know, it's not a slam on glyphosate. It's really a compliment to glyphosate. It's such a good product. It has worked so well, but you can have too much of a good thing without changing up from time to time. That's what we're talking about here. You're going to have to do a little change in your management to make sure it still remains the effective product that it is.
Absolutely, Mike. You know, glyphosate is a great product, and it does still remain a tool in the toolbox, but we have just depended so heavily on it. And you know, when we look at resistance, whether it be insect resistance, whether it be herbicide resistance, you know, what seems to be common through all those resistance problems is continually doing the same thing. And we've got to rotate these herbicides. We've got to rotate our technologies, insecticides and things like that. So just keep that in mind would be one of the things I'd recommend to the growers.
Because whether it's weeds or insects, you're always just trying to, if you can, stay ahead of them or at least stay even with it, because they're constantly changing, evolving, and they adapt to whatever you're doing.
That's right, Mike. And you know, Mother Nature, if you continually doing the same thing, she'll find a way to win.
Well, now let's kind of break it down. When we say glyphosate-resistant weeds, what weeds are we seeing that to be the biggest problem?
You know, in Western Tennessee is Palmer pigweed, of course, but we are seeing some water hemp, significant water hemp problems in areas. And you know, the key thing that I would bring out is when you think about Palmer pigweed, you think about you know, all the other pigweed species, and think about the water hemp. They're all in the same family. They're all amaranths. So you know, generally, if you have one, you've got all three of them. So you know, the control measures are very similar for all of them.
I guess the first place where you start is realizing you have a resistance problem.
That's right. You know, you want to realize you have a resistance problem, and then the next thing you need to do is you need to go through and you've got to start that field clean. And you know, some of the herbicides that we use is gramoxone to clean those fields up, and then go down with the residual herbicide, and then come back and, like I said earlier, overlap those residual herbicides so that you can maintain that control season long.
What are you finding as far as how long it takes to where you feel like you've really dealt with the issue and you can come back with glyphosate, and does that resistance go away in a year, 2 years, or what?
Mike, you know, I think what this is going to be a system that growers are really going to have to change the way they farmed in the past. You know, and talking to Dr. Steckel and the research that he has done as well, you know, I really think the resistance is going to change the way growers look at their weed control and the way they go about controlling weeds in their crops.
And we're seeing this in several parts of the country. It's not just isolated, really.
That's right. You know, I'm actually from South Central Kentucky, and we've dealt with mare's tail, which I'm sure a lot of growers listening out there now, they've got resistant mare's tail. As we said before, water hemp's becoming more of a problem. And you know, you look at the university studies, and there's different weeds that have become resistant to different types of chemistries. So, and it goes back to what we said before. We've got to rotate those technologies and chemistries so that we can stay ahead of Mother Nature.
We were talking about this earlier. I mean, what we have learned also in recent years is you can lose a lot of yield up front because of weeds, and you may think you can get that back later, but you may not get that back.
That's exactly right. You know, several of the booths we have here, or several of the displays we have here in our Syngenta booth at the farm show, is illustrating the negative effects that any weed in your crop can have. So, you know, one of the things that we talk about here when in these displays is there is no good weed in your crop.
Yeah, and getting that early start. Don't get behind in trying to manage weeds.
Absolutely. You know, we can kill some pretty good sized weeds, but we call those trophy weeds because actually at the end of the day those big weeds have already done their damage. So the key is to keep them out of there before they ever start.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm thinking maybe you kill some weeds and think, all right, we've done the job, not realizing the damage has already been done.
Yeah, we call that revenge killing.
You had a name for it. That's great. So what are you talking with farmers about then as we look to this year, and maybe they're starting to realize, hey, maybe I have a resistance problem. What should I do?
Well, you know, the key thing is I would talk locally to your guys. You know, we've got agronomic service reps, and of course we've got some great sales reps around the country, and talk to your local guy. But you know, the key things are to start clean, get your pre-emerge down early with that burn down herbicide. Try to move away from a glyphosate burn down, because the more glyphosate applications we can eliminate, the more valuable of a tool that will remain. And and then overlap those residuals. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
I guess you're talking with some farmers that probably now realizing, looking back, yeah, I have the problem. And maybe you have some others, maybe it's not been so much of a problem, but they're concerned that it might become a problem.
Yeah, right, Mike. And you know, that's key, and that's something we're also illustrating here in our display is, you know, when you think about a palmer pigweed, those weeds can produce between 500,000 and 1 million seeds. And you know, when you're talking about 1 million seeds per plant, it doesn't take many of those to really be a major problem in the next year. And you know, in the past, when we've talked about weed control, we've looked at 90% control being good enough. But when you think about 1 million plus seeds per plant, 90% control is not good enough anymore. So it's critical that we control those before they come up.
Usually when we talk about a mild winter and its impact the next year, we're talking insects, but that also can have an impact on weeds, right?
Absolutely. You know, when we look at a cold winter or extreme temperatures, extreme weather, you know, we can inhibit the germination of these weed seeds. But you know, the weed pests that we've looked at and that are becoming resistant that we're seeing in different areas, you know, they are so hard coated seeds that you know, really nothing really inhibits them. And in fact, I was talking to Dr. Steckel a couple weeks ago, and he had said he had done some experiments with some palmer pigweed seed, and soaking in sulfuric acid actually increased the germ on some of these seeds. So, you know, to me, that realizes how adaptable that weed is. It is so prolific.
What we're up against. Mike, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Mike Saxton with Syngenta. That's going to do it. Thanks for joining us from the National Farm Machinery Show on AgriTalk.